ดีค่ะ Hi, I'm Patalapan Paiboon from Baker McKenzie, Bangkok, Thailand. So today we're going to talk about AI and personal data. Basically, we touch on AI. It's becoming very popular at the moment, and also personal data is another upcoming trend that we see in enforcement and protection in many countries in ASEAN. Let me recap what's going on at the moment in ASEAN. We've seen the legal landscape in ASEAN that promoting data in APAC. In APAC, we have seen trend of new enforcement and regulation in Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea, Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia. And even for Thailand, we have seen new enforcement after the PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act, becoming full enforcement in Thailand. So the overview of the data privacy law in APAC, the big trend is extraterritorial application. So in Australia, New Zealand, India, Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, Vietnam, and Thailand, those countries all have extraterritorial applicability. Different style, different context, but even you are offshore, but processing the data of the data subject in those countries, you might be subject to the regulation in other countries. Another trend is on the data breach report. If there's any data breach, the hack, or you lost the data, you sent to the wrong person, personal data has been disclosed to the third party without authorization, basically you need to report the authority or the data subject itself. Therefore, if it happened in one country with the data subject in APAC, you might need to notify quite a number of the data subject and regulatory in the APAC. And from my experience, I think this one is a big trend and it's a cross-border legal transaction and legal analysis that we've seen so far. The new one that in the APAC is cross-border transfer. For the cross-border transfer restriction, in many countries, cross-border transfer restriction also apply, and therefore, in order to transfer the data in one country to another country, you might need to have a piece of document to transfer those data or have enough safe and mechanism to transfer the data. Data localization required for certain sector and certain countries. As you can see from the chart, that's the current trend and summary from the APAC. Now, moving on to Thai Personal Data Protection Act. It's pretty much similar, adopt the same concept from the GDPR. Personal data there are two types of personal data: general personal data and sensitive personal data. As you can see, any information that can identify a person. Personal data, there are two types of personal data. One, general data. General data is the data that can identify a person directly or indirectly, but excluding the deceased persons. Another type is sensitive data. Basically, it has the same meaning, but must be identified and specified in the law. For Thailand, we have political, religions, sexual, health data, genetic data, biometric data, criminal records, label, race, and disability. If you process any data that considered as personal data, obligation, liability would apply as well. So therefore, when you use personal data and AI, you might consider that with a caution and then additional protection when using it. So if you are a data subject and using the data, therefore you have the right to protect yourself. You can request the right to delete or get the data or check whether how the controller, the company can use your data. But on the other hand, if you're working for a company, the company itself will be considered as a data controller, meaning that they can make the decision of how to use the personal data. So therefore, if you are data controller, you'll be subject to many obligations. For example, providing the legal basis. Sounds difficult, right? But actually, is simple as If it's beyond your expectation or allowance under the law, for example, complying with legal obligations or legitimate interest basis, you need to have a consent. Consent meaning that two-way communication. You ask for the consent and then you get a specific saying, yes, I give a consent to use my personal data. Many people saying that we need consent before using the personal data, but actually that's wrong. Because when you use the data, if you have reason to do so, you can just notify the data subject and then you can use it. For example, if you have a contract with me selling an item to me, once you send it to me, I need to use your name to transfer the money back to you. In this case, I don't need a consent for you. I just need to rely on contractual basis. So that's how you use the data. In terms of the AI, that's a big question in the industry at the moment. If when the data is used for training data, could you rely on consent or other legal basis? It could be legitimate interest basis or specific consent, but that's depending on the case-by-case basis. Other obligation could apply as well, but I don't think that it will touch on you as much. But I would like to highlight on data breach. If you use the data in the system and there is any data breach, the data controller might need to notify the regulator and also the data subject. In Thailand, it's 72 hours, so it could be fast, but once you're aware of it, some delay could happen as well. In Thailand, there are a lot of penalties applied to violation of the Personal Data Protection Act. For example, civil liability, criminal liability, administrative liability. The enforcement at the moment, we've seen criminal liability for selling of personal data. We don't see much of the civil liability, but there were some cases in the court. Administrative liabilities, we've seen fines from the use of personal data. We have seen fines from the use of the personal data and failed to notify the data breach. So this one is a key thing. How about AI and personal data? Many companies that are developing AI has used personal data to train the AI system. So therefore, that's the key use of the personal data, how can you use it. But as a personal that using the AI, when you put in personal data into the AI and there is an output, those are the way that you can use the personal data with the AI. So therefore, use it with caution. Both the input and output, when you're using it, you might consider how the law would apply, how would it be used. If it's used to send a response back to you, or would it be made into a data training for other software and development as well. Once you know that, you can read from the T&C, term and conditions of the AI developers, and you will know. Then you can use it properly. If you're a company providing AI system, on the other hand, you might need to file a legal basis and privacy notice and see if you're going to use any sensitive data because stricter obligation would apply. Comply with data transfer and also minimize the use of the data. Therefore, different way to look at when you're using the data with AI. We have seen some case study on the risks of using AI, especially from the perspective of personal data. We have seen the cases of using personal data to train AI, and then there's a question of privacy rights in the system. The result might not clear as yet, and it depends on the countries and the case-by-case basis, but we're probably going to see much more cases on AI and data. Therefore, using it with caution and then using it wisely. Key takeaway. Data minimization is one of the key things under the concept of privacy law. Basically, when you use the AI, use it with the data that meet the objective. If you have used it in a lot, then it might cause a risk from the data breach or other privacy issue. So therefore, to reduce it, use it only the minimization or anonymize those data before using it. Transparency, another key concept of using the AI. If you're a provider using the AI, make it clear to the user that how you're going to use it, what is the purpose, and would it be disclosed to anyone. So if you're transparent, at least they know that their data are in a good hand. Consent and control. End users should give informed consent and can manage their data to their preference. Compliance. New laws are coming into the AI and also privacy. A lot of guidelines on AI and the use of personal data. So therefore, check the laws. Maybe it could help you. Even a soft law, a hard laws, they might give you a guideline on how to navigate through the AI at the moment. Monitoring. As we do not know yet how the AI would happen in the future or how it would be used, keep monitor. Because the development of the AI at the moment has come into a very fast pace. And then you can know how to stop, when to stop, and how to proceed, and what you should do and not to do. So that's the key takeaway from the AI and personal data. Lastly, if you do not know what need to know, no worries. Just ask a professor or an expert in that area, or ask the AI itself if that's going to be good or not. Check the terms and conditions, ask a lot, be conscious, and thus you can navigate through the AI.